Welcome to another episode of the Friday Feature Artist Podcast. I'm Angela Truscott, founder of Take Two. Before we get started, I'd like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we record today, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. I also extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander listeners joining us today. It's not very often in life that you meet someone who truly leaves their mark on you. Deborah White is one of those people. If you've ever had the privilege of interacting with her in person or online, you'll know exactly what I mean. And if you haven't yet experienced the extraordinary energy this spectacular human brings to the world, you're in for an absolute treat. This interview is very close to my heart. Deb's walked into my world back in 2021, and things have never quite been the same since. But this is not about me. This is about the incredible transformation Deb's has been through and continues to go through, and how her strength, determination and grit remind us all that if you're willing to seek the knowledge you crave, to dig deep and back yourself, anything is possible. And the best part? She's only just getting started. In today's episode, be prepared to feel more than just inspired. Be prepared to be moved. You'll hear stories that span from Deb's childhood growing up in Malawi, to her adventures in the fashion industry, to building a brand and a body of work that's taking her closer to her dreams every day. This conversation is a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and you, yes you, have the chance to be part of closing a very big chapter in Deb's journey and opening a beautiful new one. So stick around to the end to find out how. It is my absolute privilege to share Deb's story, her work, her vision with you today, in the hopes that a little bit of her spark rubs off on you too, and to invite you to be part of her journey in finding home. But before we officially begin our conversation, it is my absolute honour to share with you the world premiere of part 1 of the Finding Home documentary, a self-funded film that offers an intimate glimpse into the extraordinary world of artist Deborah White.
For me, belonging means to feel a sense of calm, to not be so worried about where you're going next. Be appreciative of what you have and where you are. I think I've spent so many years of my life looking for reasons to not belong, and I feel that I'm now finally finding that this is where I belong. Having grown up in Malawi, spending most of my life in boarding school, and then in the fashion industry, a career where I was moving from country to country, I've never really settled in one place. Through creating these pieces and this current body of work, I feel like I'm ready now to honour where I've come from and who I am. This is the start of the journey. It's the first chapter in my book. When I think back to my childhood in Malawi, I do get quite emotional. It was a great time, and I remember it because the first thing I go to is my parents, who are no longer around. And I feel that they would be so proud to see me doing this and to see the work that I'm creating. It's one of the reasons why I want to go back, and I yearn for it. I need to close this chapter in order to appreciate my sense of home and sense of place. If I didn't have art, I think I would be an absolute nightmare of a person. I'll be very honest with you. Through my art, I am transforming, I'm healing, I'm working on myself. It is a way for me to represent myself and tell others a story without actually having to say anything. God, that's beautiful. Wow. Wow. This is where the magic happens. I didn't just want to tell a story by creating pieces. I wanted to tell a story by creating pieces with materials that are part of the story. Most of the materials I use are recycled and repurposed. Whether it's fabric or rubber or bottle tops, rusted metal. If I'm being honest, I've also looked in dustbins. Nothing is off limits. If I close my eyes and I think back, visualizing my life in Malawi, the first thing I think about is mud. Oh my God, look at this beautiful place. Oh my word. We have to go and have a look. This is the gold. Integrating mud in my current body of work, which is about my heritage and my identity from there, kind of connects the two continents. The time it takes me to go and collect the pigment earth and then bring it back here and prepare it for my pieces gives the work so much more meaning. Grind it, baby. The idea of going to gather and collect something gets you in touch with nature, it grounds you, it calms you. For me, it does all those things. I think we've all lost real deep, meaningful reflection time. When you're reflecting, things start to unlock. You start to think about things that in our everyday lives we are suppressing. For so long I was just creating and creating and creating, and I never had purpose. I felt that by not having purpose, I wasn't creating with meaning. The turning point in my artistic journey came when I had the opportunity to take some very big scrolls that I'm working on and hang them up and see them vertically. The people that I was with at the time were describing the work using all the words that were literally describing my heritage, who I was. Resilient, ancestral, mysterious, primitive, earthy. In that moment, it unlocked absolutely everything for me. And I brought that home with me, and it is the purpose of everything I do now. It is my reason why I've now found home. This body of work is leaving me feeling quite raw. I will sometimes sit in here and work on something and I'll end up bursting into tears. I want people to feel a sense of renewal in the pieces. For me, renewal is a form of emerging after a long battle of hardships. And you're emerging with renewal because you've transformed as a person. And that's what's happening to me. I am becoming. If you believe you have things locked away, I recommend being brave enough to want to unlock all that. Not only will you heal, but your stories will help others heal because they will relate to your stories. I think everybody should seek to explore their purpose and their heritage. I encourage you to go through that journey of extraction, go through that journey of finding out what are your barriers, what is holding you back, because when it happens and when it changes and you find that purpose, it is the most powerful, beautiful thing you will ever do for yourself.
Welcome, Deborah White.
Thank you, Ange. That was beautiful. Thank you for such a beautiful introduction.
Oh, you're most welcome. You're most welcome. It was my absolute pleasure, and it came very naturally to write. So I feel like we could just end it there on that beautiful video, because you've just kind of said it all, right?
That wouldn't be any fun.
No, that wouldn't be any fun. But honestly, every time I watch it, and I've had the privilege of watching it a few times now, I learn something new, and another insight catches me or grabs me. You did such a great job producing that and filming it with joy and pulling it all together, and it was such a privilege.
Honestly, it was a lot of work leading up to it, but the days that we were filming it, the collaboration was beautiful. It really was.
Yeah, I was very honoured to be an assistant and carry the bags on set. It was so fun. Tell us, can you share a little bit? We're going to dive deep into your story and this beautiful transformation which has resulted in this film. But can you share us a little bit before we get there about how this came to be?
And it felt like the next best natural progression or step for me to take as an artist for my career, my artistic career, on where I'm trying to get to, or where I feel like I'm heading. And because I'm such a visual thinker, I felt like this was necessary for me in order to tell my story and do it the right justice. I wanted to make sure I was getting my story across in a visual way and still show the emotion, mindful of the fact that that a lot of people have not seen my new body of work. This seemed like the best way to do it. And I've done a lot of work on myself and behind the scenes and in my studio. I felt like this was going to lay down a really good foundation to take me to the next step of where I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, I love that. You mentioned earlier that you wanted to create it not like a documentary, but like a self-portrait.
Yes, I didn't want it to be, what's the right word? I didn't want it to be like a polished promotional video. I wanted it to be organic and raw and emotional, more like a self-portrait. And I think that Joy and yourself captured it beautifully. I don't think we did much editing at all in the end. It was just perfect.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything in it, a whole lot of me in it, and an essence of my story, which was, I couldn't have asked for more, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect example of exceptional planning, vision, creativity, a good team, like obviously talent. But yeah, it was kind of like the perfect mix. It was, such a privilege. And we're going to...
you've said it perfectly. These things don't happen in a structured, formatted way. I think something this raw and emotional is done through beautiful collaboration and respecting each other's strengths. And I think that's just what we did over those 2 days. They were very long 2 days, but it was just a perfect collaboration. And the making of it was one thing, but the memory of making it is a totally another thing, something I'll hold forever.
Yeah, definitely. To give people a little bit of context who may not know us, I'd love to share a little brief story about how we first met, and how you came into this sphere, and I don't know, universes collided.
They did. They really did.
I'll start if you like.
Okay, you always go first.
Back in, it must have been 2021, and I get this email from a student, and she was really, really unhappy because I hadn't replied to her, and she was having trouble logging in, and was very, very wanting to get into her course. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm sure I've replied like a few times, but like, great, she's left her phone number. Awesome, I can just give this lady a call. So I jump on the phone call, and I'm like, oh, Debs, it's Ange here from Fibre Arts Take Two. I'm really sorry you can't get in. Do you want to just check your spam folder? Because I've been replying like lots.
You're leaving out the part that I was actually quite cranky with you.
You were cranky, but I won you over. So that was our humble beginnings, and you've been a student in a number of different courses with us. And then you actually, Lorna Crane emailed me at a certain time in the business evolution. She goes, and you know what I was thinking? Deb's would be an amazing account manager for your business. And I was like, you know what, Lorna, I was thinking the same thing. And then I think literally the next couple of days I was on a plane to Ballina and you were serving me coffee in bed.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. And you worked with us for a glorious 23 months and as our communications manager. And we've had a lot of fun filming over the years. And now it's formed into a beautiful friendship, which I'm very proud of.
And grateful. Very grateful.
So for those listening and watching today, if you're going to see probably some funny behind the scenes videos, you're probably going to see a side to us that you wouldn't normally in a normal Friday Feature Artist interview. But bear with us. It's going to be an insightful interview, and you're going to get a lot of key insights to take away on your own artistic journey. So, yeah.
And a few laughs along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Debs, I wanted to share a few of your earlier pieces with some of the courses that you did, just to sort of set the stage. And, so we're going to be able, it's like a visual feast, this interview, because you're going to be able to see this beautiful transformation that you've been on. So I'm going to share some images now of the different courses that you've done with us. And just, if you could just maybe just a couple of words on each piece or like.
The first course that I did with Fiber Arts Take 2 was Clarissa Callison's. What Clarissa did for me was reignited my love for textiles. I was in the fashion industry for over 25 years. And for those of you who have been in the fashion industry, you will understand this when I say this to you. It is grueling. And I thought that when I closed the chapter of being in the fashion industry, I'd never come back to it. And Clarissa's course did the opposite. It reignited my love for textiles. It really did. And I never looked back from there, because the other thing is Clarissa also introduced me to was 3D form, something I had touched on, but not really in terms of combining textiles into 3D form. So that was an amazing course for me to do. The piece on the left is the one I did for the exhibition. And then the piece on the right was me starting to progress and transition how I wanted to use those forms and those techniques. So that is a mixture of Lorna's course, which was finding my visual language, and the soft form 3D sculpture from Clarissa's course.
Yes. And then you had some fun in Shelley Rhodes's Finding Fragments. You really loved that. I loved watching you progress through that.
Yeah, I loved the exploration and the degradation and the decay of the fabrics. That was the thing that hit my core very strongly. And a lot of that I still use today in my own way, but I use it in my work is a lot about decay and impermanence of time. Yeah. And this is just a little image of Perfectly Imperfect and those gorgeous vessels. You went to town on those vessels, and every time we've ever met any artist, you're always gifting them another beautiful vessel. It's so beautiful. The thing that I love, it is the thing. I do love making them. I really do love making them. Yeah. And there's so much to a vessel, isn't there? So much meaning to a vessel.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
the thing that I loved about Lorna's, sorry, Ange, carry on.
No, go. Sorry.
The thing that I loved about Lorna's course is it was the first time I really made the connection that you can turn a memory into your work, or you can make work from a memory. I'd never made that connection before. I was just making and making and making. But I made a book from the Bungle ranges that my husband and I visited, Troy and I visited. And the idea that I could create something from a memory was just phenomenal. That was how I started understanding the concept of storytelling through my work.
Yeah, I love that. And I was popping up this image here too, because you mentioned before that this is a collab between essentially a collage course and Clarissa's fiber sculpture course. So this is Deb's already pushing boundaries. You've done work in a similar vein before this, of course, which we'll touch on. But I just wanted to note that for people that Deb's never was a cookie cutter student. She was always pushing the boundaries, always combining techniques, always trying to find another way.
I think that's important for people who are working on their at whatever level they're at in their artistic career. If you're still at the early stages, which I was at that stage, it's absolutely learn from people, but push hard to make it your own as quickly as you can. being a cookie cutter is one thing. It's not something I've ever got. I've always wanted to take what I've learned and adapted it or experimented with it further or pushed it further.
Yeah, yeah. And then, of course, came Out of This Earth with Claire Ben.
So at this stage, when I did this course, I was now working for you, and I was account managing Claire's course. And I took leave to do her course so that I could really immerse myself properly in her course. And I just loved it made me fall in love with mud, as you did too. We'll get to that later. But the idea of putting pigment earth onto cloth for me was just the perfect next step. It's just perfect for me. It just fell into place.
Yeah, I loved that. I loved watching you go through that, and just you would get lost in it. Really get lost.
You can. It is. You can get lost in it, and I do.
Yeah. But of course, we can't take all the credit, because before we'd even met and before you knew about us, you'd already had your first solo show. So I'd love to share some images of that. And can you tell us a little bit about how that body of work came together and what it meant to you to have a solo show at that stage in your career?
Absolutely. It was a big thing. It was supposed to be a joint show, but my friend couldn't make it, and they allowed me to take the room space on its own because I convinced them that I would have no problem filling it. And being a prolific artist, that's easy for me to do because I create is something I can do. It was a big thing though, because it was kind of my falling back in love again with being creative. I hadn't been creative for so long. And as a child, I always wanted to be an artist. And this was my first step back into the real arts. Because being in the fashion industry is creative, but it's not what I call being an artist, really. This was me touching on my love of recycling. That one piece that you had there, which I was standing next to, is a 3.5 meter piece. It's all recycled materials: car, exhaust pipes, seeds, bolts, nuts, the fridge packaging. There's a recycled fridge packaging, eucalyptus leaves. So already then I was recycling, and then you can see the piece of jewelry that I was wearing. I was making recycled jewelry, and I used to sell those at the market. So the theme was called Abstract Botanica, the realization. And I think what that was the realization that it was time for me to come back and be an artist, or certainly understand how I needed to explore that.
Yeah. That is so exciting. Yeah, I wish I had have known you then and come to see that exhibition. But I've actually loved now watching you rework some of these bigger pieces that are on the wall. You're starting to repurpose and transform them, which is really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I love doing that. I love taking old work and giving it new love and new life.
Yeah. I want to touch on your childhood and those early experiences growing up in Malawi, which have shaped your artistic instincts. Can you tell us a little bit about that? We touched on it in the documentary, but I'd love to hear some more about it.
Absolutely, Ange. We'll talk about the pivotal moment that started this and that sparked this later. But from that moment, a lot of my childhood memories have been unlocking. Ones that I blocked for all sorts of reasons. I was at boarding school from a very young age. I was looking after my sister. I had a lot of death in the family. So we have this innate ability to protect ourselves, and I'm very good at having good blocked defense mechanisms around me. But in the last year, I've been unlocking all these wonderful childhood memories, and they are coming flooding back at such a rate, which is why I write down as much as I can, and I'm sketching furiously because I don't want to lose them. They're all coming back to me with so much passion and power, and I'm terrified that they may just all go away again. They probably won't. It's just how I feel. So some of the memories, to start off with, I must start by talking about my mum, my sister, and my granny. 3 women that really, I think, shaped me creatively. My mum, that's me, and my granny. She was such a beautiful lady. That hat she was wearing, we all got one. She used to make them. But she was also a gatherer and a collector and stitching, and she always had buttons that used to pique my curiosity. a lovely, lovely lady, passed away tragically. And then that's me on my mum's lap with my older sister, Wendy. My mum and my sister passed away in a very short space time of each other. My mum was a very beautiful woman. She creative in her own way. She did a lot of floral art. I used to watch her adoringly doing ikebana, which I think contributed a lot to the way I see things now. And these are all things that I'm only understanding now, Ange. Nothing that these are realizations that are coming to me now, not things that I've carried. Because going through this process and this extraction and this journey of extracting, I'm analyzing and reflecting a lot of things. So I'm able to say, oh, that's why I do that. I understand now. My sister was an amazing artist. So 3 women I really admire.
Yeah, amazing. It brings me back to what Donna says, in Donna Watson, like in your studio, it should be you that you are seeking, like.
Yes. And I think that's what it is. It's about coming home to yourself. And I said that in my documentary. Home is not a place. It's a sense, it's a feeling for me. And I feel that's where I am now. I'm coming home to myself, becoming.
Yeah, exactly. Because how long have you been in Australia for?
15 years.
15 years, yeah. So long enough, I guess, to call it home, but to feel like, it does. It begs the question, like, where is home? Is it?
I've always had that question because I've traveled so much. I was born in Zimbabwe. When I was born, I moved to Malawi, and then I went to boarding school in South Africa, and then I went into the fashion industry, and I was traveling everywhere, and then I came to Australia. So I have moved around a lot. And I always used to jokingly say home is where your toothbrush is, but there's so much more to what is really home. Home is where you feel within yourself, I think now.
Yeah, yeah. Talk to me about your love of wood.
Oh, I love wood. And again, talking about unlocking memories, I started a Facebook group called Friends of Sakoma, which is where I grew up in Malawi. And through that, people have been reminiscing and adding photographs. And prior to me coming and doing this interview with you, I put a call out for a whole lot of images. And the image, I think you've got a few there. The images really do speak for themselves. So I can imagine that as a child, seeing all these visual feasts, the curio stalls and the wooden carvers and the basket weavers, subconsciously as a creative person without actually realizing it, this was all influencing me, definitely. And it influences my work now. But yeah. I mean, look at those photos. It just makes you want to go back.
I know, right? Like, and look, check this one out here. So the wood carvers here, and see this totem on the side.
Yeah.
And then you look. If we flick back to this, and then your beautiful totems here that are made out of wood on the left-hand side of this image. So we're already seeing it, whether it was unconscious at that stage or it's there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I love that.
And I think the idea that they had nothing and they were working with such rudimentary tools is the reason why my work represents the way it does. It's not about looking for perfection in the pieces. It's about making use of what you have in order to create a beautiful shape or form that tells a story.
Yeah. It's never a matter of resources. It's always a matter of resourcefulness.
Yes, I love that. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you're certainly very resourceful. That you don't need to go out and buy the best art materials or the most expensive things, which usually you keep to the side anyway because they're too precious to use. So you literally can find art on the side of the road.
Yes, we can. I hope that's coming in a parcel to me.
Yeah, so everybody loves a good pocket find, and whenever you go travelling or walking with Debs, it's always a race to pick up the most gnarly thing off the road or the beach or the good fun.
Even in dangerous circumstances.
Yes, we just sign a waiver.
Yeah.
Talk to me. Well, I want to get back to mud, but before that, there was a pivotal moment in this transformation, in this journey. What was the turning point for you, and when did you decide that you were going to take yourself really seriously as an artist?
And that pivotal moment, I I will always thank you, Claire and James. And when I say Claire, I'm talking about Claire Ben and her husband, James, and yourself. We were filming Beyond Technique, and you urged me, or you encouraged me, and you actually, I almost didn't pack them, but you said to me, bring your scrolls. And I actually felt like I didn't want to because I was nervous. Anyway, I'm so glad I did, because we hung them up in Claire's barn, which is a 7-meter drop. And it was the first time I was seeing the work for the first time vertically. When you're working on something and it's huge, I think they're 7.5 meters long, and I think I now have 12 of them, and I will continue to make them. But when you're working down vertically, you don't actually get a sense of what you're doing, because you're just joining pieces together. So when we hung them up, the realization in the moment of seeing them together, and then we did an extraction of the work, you were all talking about the pieces as if you were talking about who I was, where I came from, and my heritage. And in that moment, it hit me that, and listening to Claire's teachings while we were filming Beyond Technique was huge for me. There were so many moments where I realized that first of all, you can't escape who you are. You need to embrace who you are. And you need to be honest with yourself about who you are. Because when you do all of that, you actually find real purpose in your work, and your work starts to have real meaning because you understand. And that's what happened in that moment. It was phenomenal. It was so powerful. And when I look back at the timeline of the photographs, that was a year ago.
Can't believe
so
it.
Much has changed in that 1 year for me because of that one moment.
Yeah, I just got goosebumps. Like 12 months, like, yeah, I mean, you've put in a lot of work, and people are just about to go into that, which I can't wait to share. But just to give people context of sort of that extraction process, it's something that I'm not sure if Claire developed, but it's certainly a technique that she uses, and she guided us through that night. And essentially what we were doing was, you know, you'd seen your image, your artwork, your scrolls hanging for the first time. And we sat around her kitchen bench, and we both had, we all had a notepad and just a blank page. And Claire invited us just to write words or just do like a stream of consciousness, so anything that came to mind. So I think I can remember writing raw and earthy, and like we were writing all of these words. And then I think from memory you were writing as well.
Yes.
Were you writing too? Yeah.
But I struggled. I was struggling.
You were struggling to write, and whereas Claire and I, we were kind of like, we were ripping it up, like had pages of notes. And then after that, Claire invited us to share what we wrote with you, and then we basically had a conversation around a lot of those words, and there was some tears and some, you know, like, and it actually gave you something to respond to, or kind of like unpick a little.
And everything made sense, Ange. You were seeing something in me that I hadn't seen yet, or I wasn't seeing, or I was hiding. What was I doing with it? Because it's my work. It has an identity. I didn't see it as an identity. I didn't see it. But in that moment, hanging it up there with the three of you doing that extraction was phenomenal.
Yeah. It was.
I'm so grateful.
Yeah. And I encourage people, if they're listening and watching, to find some trusted people within their artistic circle and maybe do that exercise themselves with people. I think it worked because we were with people that we trusted, then we could be open and raw with. And that's important when doing
definitely. And people that I respect Claire and James and yourself. I value your feedback and I value your input. It works. Well, it's phenomenal. It changed everything for me.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I was just going along with it because I had no idea the power of what was coming, but I think Claire, with her experience, did. So I can't take any credit, but it was wonderful to be part of, honestly. And then again, to see them hanging up on location in this gorgeous dead tree was pretty cool.
That was such a moment. We were quite near a pathway and so many people stopped to look. It was really quite a moment, seeing them hanging in the bush in nature like that.
Yeah, it was awesome. Of course, I was in charge of the drone that day and may have accidentally chopped one of them in half.
Accidentally? pushing the boundaries of the drone safety button.
See, this is the problem when you get, we will push each other to the limits, right? And just get a bit closer, turn the safety off, just get a bit closer, and then before you know it, I got too close, Debs.
And in all honesty, now that's actually made a nice scar, and I've applied it elsewhere. So, things happen for a reason.
Exactly. I was quietly dreading those few seconds, and then you just started laughing, and then we all just started laughing, and it's a testament to you, and good on you for being such a good sport. When we were at Claire's, you also had a bit of downtime to jump into the studio, and you started working with the earth pigments there as well. And we've got some images I'd love to share.
Because of course the next day everything was so raw. And Claire was tired. It was I think we filmed for 8 days or 10 days, and because it's not a technique course, it was a lot about mentoring and talking. She was pretty exhausted, and she still made the time and pushed me to do this. The thing that I loved and I appreciate so much from her was the fact that I always felt like having the huts in my work, which incidentally I hadn't really seen I was doing. I hadn't acknowledged them, but they're in the scrolls. The realization that the huts in my work was part of my identity and my heritage and possibly my motive. Her saying that to me made me embrace them rather than shy away from them. Because there's a lot of emphasis on artists on what is your motive, I felt I was feeling that. What's my motive? I spent a lot of time going, what's my motive? Do I need a motive? Is it a brand? Is it a hair? What is it? That was my motive. And I use it everywhere now. It's the shapes of my forms. It's in my fabric. It's in my work. It's everywhere. And why not? It's part of who I am.
Yeah, exactly. I love this piece here too. Yeah, I love the texture in that. That's amazing.
So I came home and did a whole series because, as you know, the earth pigments on cloth is so addictive, and we had a few hot days. In fact, I think it was in December. And it's just such a beautiful process. So I did a whole lot of those. I'm waiting to now start stitching them all.
Yeah. You've always had a deep love of mud. And, of course, this is you and your sister, and I'm pretty sure you're covered in mud there.
Yes, we are. I love mud.
Yeah. And then jumping forward a few decades, tell us, how is mud integral to your work? And tell us I've called this segment actually Mud Materiality and a Little Bit of Madness.
Well, I got to say, Ange, between you and Claire, you have reignited my love for mud, because I don't think any filming adventure you and I went on, we always found mud somewhere, and we found something to dig up, that's for sure. Oh, yeah. It is. We have definitely had some laughs along the way.
Yeah.
Sorry. Have you got some pictures?
Oh, I just got a couple of the one we got up at before dawn to come out to this cliff, and it's probably not technically mud. It's probably more sand and a bit of ochre, but it's
still
we had a great time that morning. We that was beautiful.
And I think I must tell everybody that it's very hard to get you out of bed early unless it's for mud or pigment earth.
Exactly. Yeah. Unless you bring me coffee.
Yes.
Bribery. Here's a few more photos of the madness. When you're out on location, you dress funny, you dress for the conditions. You pick up rocks, dig in the dirt. There's you and Noni, who's part of the FAT team as well, and we're digging up some ochre there. But these are also some of your more recent mud stories. There's rocks, there's doing earth pigments and getting impressions down at the beach. There's working with clay, and there's also working with an African artist with black mud, actually making dye. Yes. I forget what the process is called. You probably remember.
Yeah. Abubakar Bafana. It was amazing, of course. Yes.
Yeah.
But Ange, isn't it funny? It's hard to get out of the house on a miserable day, but when I look at 3 of those photos, I think in Melbourne it was 1 degree and it was windy. And we came to Byron Bay, and it was freezing. Look at us in puffer jackets. And then the other picture of us in Byron Bay, that was the windiest, coldest day. Everything was flying, our buckets, our containers. but we made it work.
Yeah. Like thinking, because I think sometimes there's this notion that art needs to be taken seriously, you need to be serious. And I think, obviously you can't be silly all the time, and that's fine. But how does a little bit of madness keep you alive, or help keep creativity alive? Like, do you think it's a thing? Like, you've got to have a bit of craziness?
Yeah. I think we all need to be a little bit mad and crazy, but I think having fun in your work keeps it light. I think it's important to be able to have fun and laugh at yourself. Because creating and making milestones for yourself and creating an artistic career is hard work. I'm finding it's hard work. And there's so much to do these days. And like full-time artists, I have the utmost respect for them. I do art a day and a half a week, and I'm finding that it's hard work. So I think you need a little bit of craziness, and you need to be able to have a good laugh every night. And you need to break out of that being in the zone. This is what I'm doing. This is what I need to achieve. You've got to have a bit of crazy.
Yeah. Go and find your perfect person who can be crazy with you. That's my advice. Yeah.
Everyone needs an Angela.
Everyone needs a Debs. Just someone to be a bit wacky with, and someone to go to war with.
Yeah. Yes. And it's funny, Ange, now that these things that I've unlocked, the mud, for example, I put it in my work. It goes into every piece now, one way or another. And I do that because it's a way of honoring not where I've come from, because I loved mud so much, but it's a way of honoring, we're one planet and we're all one soil. So regardless of where you are, wherever I've been, I've collected mud or pigment earth. By putting it in my work is honoring where I've been. So it's it's grounding. I think the right word for me is that it's grounding. And I love putting it into my work because it adds texture, it adds naturalness,
Yes. I want to talk about your work now. I feel like we've done the beginning of the book, and now we're in the middle, the juicy bit. And let's dive into some of this gorgeous work that you're now creating, which honestly has such a strong visual identity that it's very, very exciting. But first, bottles. Here's a
I
bottle.
love bottles.
Yes, and recycling. And in the background of this image, you'll see these black strips. And Debs, am I right in saying that they're bicycle tires?
Yes.
Tubes? Yeah.
Yes. So rubber, bottles, all things I use in my work. When my friend sent me this photograph last week, I was like, oh my goodness, that all totally makes sense. Because sometimes I'm using things and I have these memories of things, but I haven't got the exact visual location of where it came from, because I'm seeing all these memories of this work that I'm creating is through childhood eyes. And then I saw that photo and I went, oh my gosh, there we go. Because I use a lot of bottles in my work. I use a lot of rubber in my work. So isn't that photo beautiful?
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. You can see, the rubber starting all the way back here with your necklaces. And
And I wonder if back then, by using the rubber and using the bottle tops, that need to recycle and repurpose was almost like it was a yearning, Ange. It was a voice and a yearning that I didn't really realize. I didn't realize properly what it was there for and what it was telling me until I had that moment of hanging up the scrolls, and then it all just clicked.
That unlocking.
Yeah.
I love that. Here's talk us through these. These are repurposing bottles.
Yes. So obviously the idea of repurposing a bottle with the little house on top is about resilience and fragility. But it's also that dichotomy that, for example, that would have been a gin bottle or a whiskey bottle. And those could be construed as expensive items. And the fact that I've built this, what's kind of primitive looking dwelling on what's a rather expensive bottle of gin is, I feel I like that tension, but that's not tension I always explain to people. That's just tension that I put in my work that I know I'm doing, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
And then the big brown, beautiful, I love those structures, are my baobab trees. I just,
Talk to me about a baobab tree. What does a baobab tree mean? Like, does it have another meaning?
Yeah. Well, it's such an iconic tree to where I was in Africa. And also it's obvious, as you know, it's called the tree of life.
Yes.
But so, and I've always had an association or an energy feeling with trees, and I've always had a massive, deep and meaningful love for ancient trees. And I think that comes from these baobabs. They are so majestic and so big and old. And I'm always curious about the stories that they could tell, the droughts and the floods that they've survived. They really are quite something. But reflecting as an adult now, understanding why I loved them as a child and then doing reflection as an adult, the area in which I grew up in Malawi, I've been reading up that there's an ancestral spirit called Mbona, and they do ceremonies under the trees. So again, a reason why I want to go back to Malawi and see the place as an adult, to have a deeper understanding of all these things that I would never have really understood as a child.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And I wanted to touch on too your beautiful sketchbooks, and sketchbooking's a big part of your process now. And these are some of your sketchbooks of the Boab. Sorry. Hang on, help me out here.
Baobab.
Thank you.
Okay.
Got tongue-tied.
And I have always loved sketching. It's not something I've ever been scared of, probably because I used to spend a lot of time watching my older sister sketch. She was incredible at sketching. I was always in awe of seeing the way she could sketch so realistically. But for me, it's a way of making sure that the idea that I have in my mind doesn't get lost, because I have so many and they come so fast.
Yes. Yeah.
So I need to sketch them down. And when I say they come fast, but at the same time, I'm processing how I'm going to make it. So I need to make sure that I'm recording that while I'm doing the sketch. Yeah.
Do you ever get caught, like when you're doing your sketches, because I can see this maybe as a trip for people, do you ever get caught up in trying to make your sketches perfect, or what's your advice for people if they're wanting to try sketchbooking for the first time?
Definitely don't get caught up in thinking it's okay or not okay. Some people never show their sketches to anybody. I like showing my sketches because it's part of my process, and I like to share how I'm making things. There's no need to be, as an artist, there's no need to be scared of showing anybody anything. There's not enough artists in the world. We have beautiful stories and messages that I think in this everyday life that is so noisy and so busy is almost getting lost now. Artists are becoming more important now than ever. So sketch away. Yeah,
sketch away. Throw perfectionism to the wind.
And honestly, I'll tell you, Tara taught me a great tip. If you are worried about the white blank page, put some color on the back. Start with something on the back first and then draw on top. And then it's just not this big white, intimidating page staring at you.
Yeah, good tip. Thank you, Tara. Thanks, Debs. You've got a beautiful piece of work here, and it's called In the Queue. Can you talk us through this piece?
Yeah. So, Ange, you can see that it's shaped in a cross. So In the Queue for me was about sitting as a child on a wooden bench, high, tall ceilings, 44-degree heated summers, sitting on a bench in a queue of the clinic waiting to be treated for malaria. I had what was called recurring malaria. Every time I was a very busy child. I was always on the move, a little bit undernourished, probably because I was very busy. So the minute I got a little bit run down, pardon?
I can't imagine it.
Just stay in your little box, please. So I got malaria a lot. And so this is the idea of sitting in that queue amongst everybody. You all sat together and you all lined up and you waited to be treated. And there was this stillness and quietness in the room. It was quite something. I remember it. I can actually smell the clinic. It was the third world clinic. So don't think pristine, beautiful white walls, because it was not that. And the bench was rugged and probably a bit rickety. So this is what that is. It's just, that's the road to getting to the clinic. And then it's not supposed to represent being in the clinic itself. It's representing the childhood memory of those feelings.
Yeah. It's interesting that, because I'm often when, like, I love the work for in its own right, but then once you know the meaning behind it, it just becomes even more powerful. But it stands alone without knowing the context as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's such an interesting point, because a lot of people have this feeling that, does my work need to tell a story, or can it just be work?
Yeah.
And I think that's such a personal preference. I want my work to tell stories, and I want to tell people my stories.
Yeah.
Because as much as I'm loving unlocking them, is as much as I want to love sharing them. But that's not for everybody. Some people are happy and content with just creating, and the viewer forms their own opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I wanted to talk to you about, like, you have a, how do I say it? You are fearless with your experimentation. So there must have been a lot of trials and errors along the way. What does experimenting mean to you? Why is it part of who you are? Like, why is it important?
And experimenting is everything. I've always been like that. Even in the very, very early stages, even as a child, I was making a mess and working furiously. I think for me, fearless experimentation opens the door to so many possibilities. But in the process of that, you've got to be able to accept rejection and failure. You mustn't see them as failure. You have to see them as a lesson learned, or you have to see them as, oh, that happened. That's amazing. There's always something in it. So if you don't push the boundaries and you don't get into feeling uncomfortable, you're not really learning anything about yourself, I don't think.
Yes. Yeah. You discover so much about who you are in the process of experimentation, and you never know where one idea is going to lead, right? So you might fail at something, but because you've had that failure, you might use that technique or whatever, that failure, in something else, and it might work brilliantly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In those moments of uncertainty, that's when I always say this, that's when the magic happens.
Yes. I think, didn't you say it in your documentary? I think you said, oh, this is the gold, or this is where the magic happens. I think you did say it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is where the magic happens.
Yeah, it's everything. If you don't push the boundary, for me, if you don't push the boundaries, you don't know your limits.
Yeah, good quote. If you don't push the boundaries, you don't know your limits. From Deborah White. A life along the Shire River is another piece. Yeah. Tell us about this one, and tell us about some of the techniques that you're using here.
So, Ange, this piece it's the Shire River. I grew up that's okay. I grew up in the Great African Rift Valley, which, as you know, extends from, I think, Ethiopia all the way down to Mozambique, and is fast becoming a separate continent. So we grew up on the Shire River, and during the floods were devastating because it took everything away. So this for me is representing a little village that's living on stilts, because a lot of the villages would build up using reeds to try and protect themselves from the floods. But of course it was fruitless, because the power of the water that used to come down, I don't know if anybody's ever had a look at footage, and I encourage you to go and have a look. The power of the water coming down the Shire River is absolutely phenomenal. So whilst this is a memory of those floods and how I imagined people living, the piece on reflection for me honors their resilience and how they rebuild afterwards, and how they have to rebuild. You have no choice. You have to survive. You have to keep going.
It's amazing. And are you painting, like we saw in the documentary that you were painting one of your huts like with mud? Are you happy to share a little bit about some of your techniques there?
Yes, absolutely. So this is mud. This is mud or pigment earth. And what I do is I mix it with water and PVA glue, and then I stick that onto the surface, and then I seal it with a really, really strong sealant.
Wow. Yeah.
Because you don't want the mud to come off.
And are you making your own little wood blocks yourself? Like, how do you source them?
Oh, I love a tool, Ange. I've got lots of tools. So I make everything from start to finish. My husband shudders every time I get the tools out.
Because where's your heaven, Debs? It wouldn't be a place called Bunnings, would it?
Bunnings is my church. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but it is. And I think I have more tools than my husband. I have so many tools, but they are necessary to make my work.
Yeah, and that's empowering, I think. Like, I don't want to be sexist or ageist or anything like that. I think it's so empowering for women to get their hands on some power tools and just get into the shed and start making.
It is. It really is. And I'll tell you, you'll surprise yourself what you can do.
Mm.
It's again coming down to that experimenting fearlessly. I do push the boundaries, and I do want to try and make things all on my own. That's that fierce independence that I have. But the results are amazing. I love my work. I'm always proud of what I produce, knowing that I've produced it from beginning to end.
Yeah, exactly. You've had your hands in every part of the process.
Yes.
Yeah, I love that. Debs, one of the last pieces of your current body of work is called The Last Shelter. Can you share a little bit about this piece and how it's developing for you?
And I started the piece before I was in the Beyond Technique Tier 2 portion of the course. And for our first live Q&A feedback session, I put that up for critique and feedback from my roommates, I call them. And it's the first time I've made a piece of work where I've actually looked or been given feedback during the process of the making process itself. So it's been a very interesting unfolding of this piece, because I've refined it because of the feedback that I've got from my roommates, and it's been phenomenal. It's made me or helped me understand the real value of having people that you can rely on and that you trust, that support you through the process of making and helping you refine where you're going. They gave me such great feedback on things to change and fix and update. And I took all of it on board. And I believe as a result, it's a way better piece finished now than it was that I was planning to present it as. There's so much value in having a group of people around you. I call it my village. To support you and give you feedback. So much value in it.
Yeah. So for context, for people that may not know about the mentorship part of the Beyond Technique, and I don't want this to turn into a sales pitch or anything like that, but it's more around just giving people context, even if so they can go and do it themselves. The first portion of Claire's course is a bit like a lot of our others in terms of it's a video lessons, and then we meet for live Q&As throughout that process. And then there was obviously an open Facebook group, but there's a lot of people in it. And then there's an option for students then to join a 6-month mentoring program with Claire, where you guys meet, I think 3 times over that 6 months, and you're being divided up into small intimate groups of 4 people, 3 or 4, and you meet and you present your work and you bounce and share, or you give and receive feedback essentially. And Claire's been training and teaching people throughout Beyond Technique how to give and receive feedback effectively.
Yeah.
Does that sum it up for you?
Absolutely. Yes. And honestly, I know you said you don't want this to turn into a marketing thing, but the reality is that Beyond Technique Tier 1 has contributed hugely to my progress. Everything Claire told us to do, I have done. I've revamped my website. I've created a mini document. I'm not saying she physically told us to go out and do these things, but she holds you accountable for the things that you're trying to achieve. And her teachings in the resource guides for me were phenomenal. I paid attention. I've done the work, and I'm really proud and pleased with the progress that I've made because of that. It's about being held accountable and having that mentorship and that person that you respect, but that person to just say, this is where you need to go. And someone who's prepared to impart all that knowledge on you is huge.
Yeah. And I think you touched on something so important there. Like, and it's beautiful to acknowledge your mentors and your teachers along the way. But at some point, you step into the power of being your own artist and claiming your own work. And the fact that you have done the work, you've taken the risks, you've done the experimentation, you've put in thousands of hours. Every time I ring you, I'm like, Debs, are you in the studio? She goes, yep, been here since 5 a.m. You know, like you're the one putting in the work and you've built that muscle. Like no tutor can lift the weights for you.
No,
You have
that's
to
actually
lift
a really
your own
good thing to say. You need to lift your own weights.
Yep,
Yeah.
exactly. And you're the shining example of that. And I think what we've seen today, and we're going to continue to see with your further projects that you're working on, is that beautiful evolution. That's what I really wanted to share with people today, was like, look at actually what you can do if you put in the work.
It is about that. It really is about that. And being prepared to have failures along the way.
Yeah. It's not all going to be smooth sailing.
No. You almost need to say, I say this to my husband, there's no such thing as rejection. It's just redirection.
Oh, I love that.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone should write that down right now, because I got more goosebumps.
It is. It's just redirection. Don't let. I don't have the word failure. I just have the word lesson. That taught me something. What did it teach me? What am I doing next?
Yeah, love it. I love it. What are you doing next? What are you doing now?
Well,
I kind of feel like you've created a visual identity, and I know, I was going to say I assume, but I actually know you know how to build a brand. You know this from your days in the fashion industry. Like, how are you applying what you know about that now?
I'm really fortunate that I've had that foundation, Ange. And the hardest thing about being an emerging artist and taking yourself into a mid-career artist is that tension of having a stable income because you have a job, and then wanting to become, you want to change the swing, more artist, less job, but you have this financial tension all the time. And the idea of letting some of that go is quite scary. And for some people, they just simply can't afford it. So you just have this swing balance thing going on all the time. So for me, what made sense was to take my foundation of my branding background in the fashion industry and apply that using my creativity and using that for something for myself. So what I'm starting to do now is I'm creating a very small, very tight homewares brand and a scarf brand, because you never see me without a scarf.
No.
And I call them Shoulder Stories. And my homeware brand is going to be called Nesting. Now, I see those as me using these as a stepping stone to get me another step further to maybe 3 or 4 days a week being an artist and 2 days a week having a normal regular job with that financial stable income.
And here are some of the beautiful images that you've created using AI, because of course no one has the budget at this stage for this type of location shoot.
Actually, no, this is my backyard. I'm only joking.
Oh, right. We wish.
Yes, the wonderful world of AI.
Yeah, how has that helped you?
Hugely. Hugely. It's saved me so much time and a lot of money, Ange.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
These cushions are my cushions, but I have placed them in this setting. I actually have that here with me.
Show us. Oh, yeah. And you've got an orange one, which I think has my name on it.
Yes, because you like pumpkin colors. But for me, the progression of having this homeware brand, which it seems natural. They're artistic pieces in someone's home. We all like to nest. Not everybody wants a piece of artwork on their wall. This is just a homely artistic piece in from Debs.
Yeah. And where can people see more of the body of work, but then also learn more about nesting and shoulder stories?
Well, I'm really proud to say, and this has been a big job, and thanks to Gary, who I met filming with you, he has helped me revamp my website, and I'm so proud of it. Honestly, I'm so proud of it. I could not be happier. So you can see at the top there's all the different tabs. I've got Roots, Gather, Reflections, in which I've written a few blogs. Obviously, my film is there, and then Connecting with Me, and then the Nesting.
Oh, beautiful. I really encourage people, write down the URL, just deborahwhiteart.com, and head there and have a really good grab a cup of tea or a wine or a champagne, and spend some time there. Champagne for Debs. Spend some time there. Your blog articles are beautiful, but what I love about them the most is that, and I'm sure people that have got this far in this interview know and can feel how generous that you are. And so everything that you put out into the world, you want people to feel good, but also to improve them as well. And so you've included like reflections, questions for people and prompts, and you're a natural teacher and giver. So
Thank you.
It's really beautiful to see.
I was going to say that earlier, that my mum was my very first teacher, and the women in my family, we come from a long line of educators. So yeah, this is, we'll get there, but this really is me honoring her.
Yeah. I was going to ask you a personal question, if you don't mind. It kind of is going back to going back to your stories, because you mentioned earlier, and I'm kind of going a little bit off piste here, but bear with me because I want to ask you this, and I've been meaning to ask you this for a while. Like, you've mentioned a few times, like, you're prolific, you're writing things down, you're remembering things, and you're almost like afraid of losing them. And your mum passed away with dementia, and you made her a beautiful album, and you wrote notes in there so she wouldn't forget who you were. Do you think somewhere deep down that's the root cause of this sense of urgency to get it all down, get it written down, make a book, like, don't lose them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely in the back of my mind, Ange.
Yeah. I think when you do create a book of your beautiful work, it's going to be such a beautiful legacy for both you and your family and your heritage. And
I think the idea, obviously as an artist, we all want to have solo exhibitions, but there's so much more for it for me. The idea of having the book of my stories is about being able to reach more people. So everybody can have a book and see all my work and hear all my stories or read all my stories. And I think I mentioned to you this. I would love to, and I'm researching the idea that I can write the stories using my mum's handwriting. So I will write the stories, but I'd like to find an AI tool that can convert them into her handwriting. Wouldn't that be just so beautiful?
That would be amazing. Yeah, it would be very, very touching. Yeah. So you're working on nesting, you're working on your work, on the work. You're writing blogs, you're doing your shoulder stories, you're looking at doing the book. There's so much that you do, and you have a full-time job, let's just say that. Looking back, like, what advice would you give to others who are trying to climb that artistic ladder? Like,
for me, the best advice I can give people, which has had the most impact on me, is find good people and good mentors, people who will challenge you and support you, who will give you good feedback, bad feedback, any feedback. Feedback is the breakfast of champions. A wise lady called Angela used to tell me that all the time. I say with no hesitation whatsoever that I would not be where I am without the village of people that has helped me get here. So that would be my first best advice. The other would be do the work. Do the work and do it again and again and again. Fail, experiment, fail again. Remember, rejection is redirection.
Yeah.
Really, really important.
I love it.
And then, Ange, the last thing, and this is my whole realization and what is unlocked in the last year for me, is about being true to yourself. Who are you really? What is your identity? Don't hide from it. Really and truly embrace it. Don't be embarrassed about who you are. We all have something. We all have a story to tell. So don't hide from it.
That's beautiful. We'll definitely make that into a reel. It was so beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So in this next phase of your evolution, like, what does fulfillment mean to you? Because I'm always thinking about that. There's success, and then but being successful doesn't necessarily mean that you're fulfilled. And if you're not fulfilled, I don't think that you can be successful.
True.
So what does fulfillment mean to you?
I have done a lot of soul searching on what is success to me. You know, from a young age, I was a director and shareholder of the fashion company that I worked for. I've done this in my career. So I've done a lot of soul searching on what success really will mean to me as an artist, because you only get one chance at this. And I'm not in a hurry, but I am aware that I could potentially, my mum passed away very young. I don't want to be all somber, but that is definitely in the back of my mind. So obviously, I'd love to have a solo exhibition to show all the work, but the idea of having the book will reach more people and the stories will be able to touch more people. And that, for me, gives me a great sense of fulfillment. I've always had a yearning to go back to Africa. I need to go back to close this chapter, or maybe it won't close. It'll open another chapter. Who knows? I want to go back to Malawi and see it through the eyes of being an adult.
Yeah.
And for so many years, I've yearned to find a way to go back and contribute to communities there. And I feel that it makes so much more sense to me now to be able to do that as an artist. I would love to go back and cross-share my artistic abilities with the people that are already in those communities, in those Malawian communities who are already creating. I don't know where that will lead, but I feel like if we can cross-share knowledge, who knows what comes from that? I know I'll certainly feel fulfilled. I feel like I could add meaning to somebody else's life that will make me feel fulfilled.
Yeah, I love that. Giving back, you know, I love what you said there, like cross-sharing of knowledge. And I think you're right. I think true fulfillment comes when your art helps others and connects you to something big, much bigger than yourself. It's much bigger. Yeah.
I make because of the stories, the materials, the pieces, and I feel like those communities are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But they're making to earn money because it's a form of survival for them. They are not creating because they want solo exhibitions. They're creating because they need to sell some carvings in order to put food on the table. It's a very different thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say different, but similar. Not that I want to compare in that way, but I'm sort of just thinking back to what you were saying about that. You know, what you're doing with the nesting is to try and, you know, it comes back to that monetary necessity. You know, there's a necessity in it for them, and there's a necessity in it for you to become and do what you need to do.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I promised at the beginning of this interview that people could be part of that next chapter with you in a way. Talk to me about take 2 of Finding Home. I didn't mean that. I just made that up then. That was good.
It worked perfectly. Finding Home, take 2. You take over everything, Ange.
Sorry.
I mentioned in my documentary I yearn to go home. I have not been home for 25 years, and I really did leave as a child because I left. I was at boarding school from the age of 6. And then I went to school in South Africa and stayed and studied fashion design in South Africa. So I have not been home for so long. And I call it home. I'm going to say back to my origins. And in Claire's Beyond Technique course, I'm a very independent, proud, never ask for anything kind of person. And in Claire's Beyond Technique course, and I hold this a lot, if you haven't got something and you ask for something, the worst that can happen is you get nothing because you never had it in the first place. So for me, the hardest thing is asking for sponsorship to go back to Malawi, because I could go back tomorrow on my own, but I don't want to do that. I want to go back and document it. I want to go with yourself and Joy and Daniel, and I want to go and film this next phase, this next step, this next chapter. I feel like people who follow the story and fall in love with the story will also want to be part of that journey. So, I'm struggling to even say this. I have set up a GoFundMe account.
Good on you. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
as Claire said, if you didn't have it in the first place and you ask for it, you've lost nothing because you never had it. So
Absolutely.
those are really wise words.
And Debs, I touched on this in the beginning, that anyone who's ever crossed your path, the hundreds of students that you've engaged with over the years, you give so much to others. And even in this conversation, you've given so much to complete strangers around the world. So if anyone out there would like to scan the QR code there, donate your next coffee to Debs, it will go to an absolutely worthy human being. The Art of Belonging, Finding Home will have a take 2. And who knows what you're going to do over there when you're there, what memories it's going to unlock further for you. And of course, another very important reason to return is that you'll be taking your mum's ashes home. And what a beautiful honour that will be to your mum. But also that giving back to community and what that might do for you, because you're a different person from when you left. And it's just, I can't wait. I can't wait to see what you do with the rest of your life.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It's my absolute pleasure and honour and privilege to be part of your world. You are my best friend and I love you dearly. And I'm so proud of you. I can't wait.
It means so much to me.
Yeah.
I'm very grateful for everything you and your Fat Village have done for my village. You're all my village now. You're all my people.
Thank you.
It's been a beautiful journey, and we're going to have lots of fun until we're very old and grey.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am getting there.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to be. This is such an amazing platform. I feel so honored to be on your Friday feature platform. This is a platform where you've had the world's greats of the greatest of the greatest, and I'm so honored to be here. So thank you.
Well, you're right up there with them, Debs. Honestly, you deserve every minute of it. So thank you. I've had a ball planning this. I'm definitely going to have a celebratory champagne tonight, and cheers to you, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks, Ange.